Hello, everybody. And here's a pitch that I don't think I've done on this channel. I think I did this with my good pal Brian over on Gravely Amusing. We did about a little over a year ago. Um, what would you do if you had the Ghostbusters franchise? And to be honest, I felt like Ghostbusters Frozen Empire was a step backwards. It put us back in New York. It ended Ghostbusters Afterlife was great, and it ended with such an upswing of something to come. And then when we get to Afterlife, it felt like their movie was edited, hacked, altered, changed, and they put it back in New York. But once again, we're establishing as if the Ghostbusters are on the outs. And that's the problem, is you put us back where we are, trying to end us in a new place. We've already done that twice. So my pitch is basically, okay, is you start off with the Ghostbusters flourishing. And what you're happening is, because of the events of everything that's occurred, is you have ley lines. We talked about that in the Ghostbusters 2016 film, right? And the idea is there are ghost pockets springing up all over the country. So they have to kind of start to franchise and make this more legitimate. They have to start actually training recruits. And you have a secondary team. So what was the problem with Frozen Empire? One of the biggest things was too many characters. Afterlife set up Winston Zeddemore as a businessman, wealthy, and he was the Ghostbuster that got the shaft in the original series. So the idea that he's going to take care of the team, help them out, move them back to New York, great setup. But when we get to Frozen Empire, the team is still like this ragtag group that's struggling. When we see and discover that Winston has this big research thing, he should have been bringing the new team into the fold as like the field agents and really starting to make the Ghostbusters a more serious thing. Um, we didn't need the subplots with fighting with the city and everything again. We've already been down that road twice. We didn't have to go back a third time. Frozen Empire set up so many things about that dynamic of the new team. And I honestly believe, for a group of people who have been so reluctant to make Ghostbusters 3, the original actors were so much, hey, we got to be part of this. We need to be in this film. We want to do this. Because you have the new team and the original team. And I think that's what it comes down to for me, is you need to focus in. Now, I've played some of the Ghostbusters game that came out, uh, and the remastered version I bought for PlayStation 4. And the storyline for that, everyone says, was really good. It was kind of the unofficial Ghostbusters 3. I don't remember all of this. You'll have to excuse me, because I'm not much of a gamer. I do like to play sometimes. I play probably more now because of my wife and kids than I ever did. But the thing is, I just feel like the Ghostbusters needs to branch out. They have these new characters that they didn't know what to do with, so they had to find a way to cram them into Frozen Empire. And I really think it should have been the next Ghostbusters film should focus on this idea of, where does the team go? And they have to spread out. And I can't remember his name. Trevor. There we go. The son has no part in Frozen Empire. Everything he does feels like it was just like, oh crap, he's in this movie. We gotta have him do something. There's no storyline for him, or really for um, the girl, whose name is evading me right now because it's early in the morning, and then it waited way too long. And I know this is like a deconstruction of Frozen Empire, but it really felt like a step backwards. So to move forward, we need to see what we did wrong. I think stripping down the Ghostbusters team, spreading them out, getting them out of New York City, almost like they got to cross the country or go out and investigate and make it more like about them investigating things. And there's actually almost like a mystery or something to solve. And then you still have people in New York. You could have like almost like a dual storyline that has to come together or something that they're reporting back to. And we see some of the team here in New York doing like almost like exterminator type things, like to go out and boom, take out a ghost. And then you have a very like strong mystery that's being solved, like in Ohio. Why not? It's Ohio. There's always something crazy going on. Ghostbusters, the first one, set itself up really well for why it was where it was. And Ghostbusters 2 and so on and so forth um, did okay. But I think the problem is every Ghostbusters movie is always kind of restart with building back up to the Ghostbusters. They're not action, they're comedy films. Okay? Um, and I think they have really good mythology and lore. And I think having Ray as kind of this liaison character would work. Like he's field manager type character is best, and Winston runs the business. And let Winston help out and really show more of what he does for the company. I think that is something that we were kind of promised that Frozen Empire didn't really give us. Um, I I thought the inclusion of the Kumail character was once again too much. Another character, and his whole storyline was. I think it could have worked. I don't know. We hadn't established people like that, um, but once again, just too many characters. So you need to strip it down. Strip it down. Lucky, that's her name. Jesus. Um, the team needs to consist of Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon's character, Phoebe, and Trevor needs to go off to college. Podcast, and I guess Lucky. But see, I think it'd be better if you had Trevor and Lucky go off, and he's either off gone to college, or they're part of that. They've gone and started their own kind of sect with some of the people from like Winston's HQ, and have a small division like out west. And it's kind of started Ghostbusters West Coast side or something, so that they're still kind of in the fold, and they get like a cameo, like phone call, and then you have the home team getting ready to set up and investigate in Ohio. Kind of like the East Coast West Coast thing as they work on branching out. Ghostbusters is relatively American, but it'd be neat to go to Europe and see what happens, or Australia, somewhere different, change it up. Um, but I think there's some cool stuff in the franchise as long as you keep the comedy, the wit, and the fun of like the different kinds of ghosts and the lore straight. I think that's something it struggled with between the films and then the cartoon. But I think the key is you got to care about your characters. And when there's too many characters, you don't really care about any character. And you want to bring in I think your villain coming in sooner and making things more problematic for the Ghostbusters is something. I mean, we're past the Ghostbusters being very ragtag, unprofessional. Worked in the first film very well because it was new. They were just creating it. For the second film, a little bit, but they were more professional. They'd put it down, kind of thing. They'd already done it. The third film, it worked because this is the most serious of the films, and I think it was the right move coming from the filmmakers and just everything that had happened in life. It works because you have new people who are retroactively learning how to be Ghostbusters. And I just think the idea that you have the first three, or the first two Ghostbusters work based off the same concept of Gozer. The second is Vigo! Yeah, that guy. And I like the idea that something has been going on and there's been this big release of ghosts, release of energy in the world since Gozer's thing, and um, they're popping up more and more all over the place. And it's just a world crisis that paranormal energy has been released. And the Ghostbusters are almost now uh, a needed societal thing. It'd just be a different than what we already had. Ghost busting has come out of the shadows and now is how I kind of envision this being like a working class thing, like a plumber, a cop, fireman, Ghostbuster. It would just be nice to change it up instead of always feeling like it's these ragtaggers like that are being pushed to the side. I don't know. I think I sit down and go over it more and really hone in on the story. And I think my problem is it's kind of dialing into what Ghostbusters are, where you want to take the franchise, because I think there's still something there that's exciting and thrilling. And I really hope we do get another film after Frozen Empire, because we had a lot of goodwill with Afterlife, and then Frozen Empire kind of just knocked it down. It was very much a too many character mess of direction of a film of what they wanted to do. I will say that in the new film, you just go ahead and you make Phoebe an adult, and it just simplify it. But anyways, that's if you want to continue with those, or Winston has to bring in new people. So that's my Ghostbusters rant. It's kind of coherent. It's early. I started this the day before, but then I had to stop. But I just been thinking about it because my kids were interested in it and got back into it, and I think that's the charm is it can be multi-generational and fun. So we just got to figure out how to get the kids, the new generation, back into it. Let me know your thoughts, likes, and comments. All right, take care. Have a good one.